OPPE practice sessions are just TA sessions being converted to your practice things, so that we can discuss about concepts as well as the underlying theories of that questions.
Sir, syllabus for the OPP2 is from 1 to 9, right?
Yeah, it's week 1 to 9.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I just have one doubt. Sir,
Okay.
I just have a doubt about the camera position in OPP. Last
Will,
time I had it was marked absent for me.
that's our operational doubts. Will try to resolve it towards the end of the session.
Okay, sir.
Hopefully my screen's visible. So how many of you guys have actually practiced PPA 12 beforehand, or like completed all the PPAs? Can I get a thumbs up on? Okay, getting some thumbs down. No worries. We'll start the PPAs, sorry, PPAs now only. Okay, so let's start with the very first problem. So for today, we'll be discussing the first 5 problems. I request all of you guys to log into a portal and start, what do you say, coding this problem. So I'll explain the gist of the problem, that what it demands. So coming to the problem statement, we have here that we have to write a function. So if we go over here and choose Python, we have defined a function declaration over here. You have to write it over here. That's being denoted by write a function thing, which should be named prime galore, but we have already done that. It should accept a list of non-negative integers, that means 0 or positive integers, as an argument, or what's given over here as L. And it should return the number of primes that are located at prime indexes. So what this thing means is that, first of all, you are given with the list of list L. Now you need to find the prime numbers that are located at prime indices. For example, if we were given, let's take a list from test case itself. If we were given a list such as this, so what were the indexes of this list? It is 0, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8. As you can see, there are indexing starting from 0 to 8. Some indexing in this thing are prime, such as 2 and 3 and 5 and 7. So these are prime numbers. We need to check whether the numbers present at the prime index is itself prime. If it is prime, we need to set a counter and return the total such values which are being present at the prime indexes and are itself prime. So this is what the question demands. Hopefully it's clear to all of you. Hello, is this clear to all of you, the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Clear.
sir.
Okay, I'll give you exactly 10 minutes to be precise. I need you all guys code this question. Then we'll discuss the solution of this question after 10 minutes. Is this clear? So any volunteer who can code along, like show your coding and things by sharing your screen. Okay, Ashish,
Yes, sir.
you can start presenting now and start coding in, so that I can look upon your project. Just stick to the plan. It's okay. You are trying to define prime. No worries. Continue. Uh, Sivans, do you have any query regarding the question? Or you have raised your hand?
No, sir, no regarding question. I am doing the code.
Okay, now you can lower the hand then.
Okay, okay.
Isn't this a previous question?
So it's a PPA 1 of week 12. We are trying to understand the concepts lying behind it. So I have given you, I guess, 7 to 10 minutes. I guess 7 minutes are left, and I'll start discussing. And
No, I
Ashish has
feel
already.
like prime. Uh,
Sir, what we have to
actually, prime
return?
Ganon is
We have to return the count. What is the
Okay, okay,
number
okay,
of
sir.
the
Okay.
such numbers present in the list?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Ayush, we are trying to solve some PPAs for this OPP session, a practice session. We'll continue such for tomorrow also. From the next week onwards, we'll be having some concepts and question related more towards the concepts such as list and dictionaries.
okay. Okay. So OPP 2 has syllabus from weeks all the till 12, right?
No, so OPP2 has a syllabus from week 1 to week 9. But week 12 consists most of the questions that covers or spans over week 1 to week 10.
Okay. 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 Got it.
Yeah, Mani. It's from week 1 to week 9, but week 12 has some PPAs, which covers the concept from all week 1 to week 11, I would say. So we are just targeting the PPAs for week that covers concept from week 1 to week 9.
Can you please say which question are you discussing?
So we are discussing PPA 1 from week 12. So, also, Anmol, we won't be breaking the loop if the condition is satisfied. I guess you are referring to prime gallery loop. Then what do you say? If we break the loop unexpectedly, then it won't count the total number of such numbers present in the list. It will just encounter the first of the element which satisfy the condition that its index is prime and its itself is prime. Then it will just break the loop. That's what you want to try. But the question demands us to count all such numbers, not just encounter such numbers.
So I have done it.
Yeah, it's a correct approach. We'll discuss it with other students.
Okay.
It's a very naive approach of defining what the prime number is and then defining what is required in a prime function. You can now stop sharing. We will. Okay, how many of you are able to initially code this question and understand this one? I need a thumbs up so that I can proceed. Okay. So many of you are able to proceed with this question at least. Anyone having any doubt in at least a problem statement? Then we'll start with coding this question actually. The same approach that Ashish used to solve the question. If anybody have any doubt regarding problem statement, you can just raise your hand and then we will discuss about it. Okay,
Sir, before starting the question, how to make a logic
yeah,
to
that,
write a code?
yeah, we'll come to that thing now only. Uh, First of all, is the problem statement at least clear?
Yes, sir. Problems.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's start with the logic then. So as you can see over here, that this is the requirement. We have just taken our one of the test case, and it has some list defined, which was 1, 3, 11, 18, or something like that, and it had some indexes which are by default over there. What our question demands is that we need to find the number of primes. That means our element of the list, which is this, each element over here, like kind of element should be prime and is present at prime indexes. It is present at prime indexes. So what are the prime numbers which are not divisible by something, right? Which are 2, 3, 5, 7 something. So we need to check two conditions, that index should be prime and at prime index the element should be prime, right? So we have to use some loop, right? Let's start with the logic of this question. So we'll start with like very basic thing, which is iterating over each element. So for iteration, what will we use? We'll use for loop, right? So we'll say that first we'll define the length of that list. So we'll use length function to get the length of the list. If someone wants to join the call. So we will just use n length of L so as to like have a brief idea about the length of the list so that we can have how many indexes are present in our list. We will start iterating, right? So as to check the condition, we need to be first at that given position of that element. So we'll start iterating using for loop. Say that for I in, okay, let's make it more comprehensive. For index in range of n, right? But range of n will do. It will take the length of the list. If the length of the list comes around to 8, it will convert it to like this thing, that 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 7. It won't include 8, right? In our example, the length of list comes around to be 9, so it will be like this thing, right? N is 9, so it will go. So we go step by step over the index, and what we have to do, we have to check whether the given index is prime. So we say that if is prime, we haven't defined any helper function yet. We are just checking that whether the given number or the index is prime. We say that if it is prime, that means if it is true, we'll go this thing, right? We are not using and thing. We'll just use naive
Sir, can
logic.
you zoom it?
Yeah, sure. I'll zoom it. Yeah, now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we need to, if the index is prime, right? We again need to check one more condition, that at that given prime index, I have to check whether the element itself is prime, that is given by L of index, right? So if we go like this, that element is L of index, we need to again check whether that element is also prime. And if both the conditions satisfy, that if it satisfies the index to be prime, it enters this thing. And if it again encounters a if condition and check is prime, that given element is also prime, which comes out to be true, we'll just discuss what is prime is doing. We have to define a helper function. We'll just come around that thing. Then we have to update or store that value kind of thing. We need to keep track of that thing. We need to keep count of this thing. So if you're keeping count, we had to define a variable before our for loop, which should be count is equal to 0, right? At first, we haven't encountered any such number which is present at prime index and is prime. But if we encounter such element, we have to increment the count value, right? Is this low code logic clear for this function, what it is doing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if we combine both if statement in using and, then what is
Yeah,
the
we'll come around that part also. We'll try to combine this thing, remove this true and things. So we'll just come around. I'm just explaining the naive logic that you can apply in OPP for if like you are struggling with the code logic. I'll just come around the, and at the end, after counting and coming out of the loop, we have to return the count, that how many such elements you encountered. Is this code clear? Give me a thumbs up. Cool.
Yes, sir. Sir, before changing the code, can you please paste in the chat box? Chat.
Yeah, I'll paste the whole code in the chat box. It's still incomplete actually.
Return
So we have
count.
used is prime, but we haven't defined is prime nearby, right? Nor
Yeah,
it is
yes.
defined before, nor it is defined after, right?
Sir,
So
we
we
have to
need,
define this prime.
yeah, we have to define is prime because that's not a default function in the Python library. Okay, we have to
Yes.
define is prime. We have to check. Now this function, what will it do? It will take argument as a number and check whether it is a prime. So if 2 was passed, it should return true. If 3 was passed, it should return true. But if 4 is passed, it should return false, right? So what are prime numbers? It is like 1,
1,
2, 3, 4, 5. This is a normal number line, right?
yes, sir.
So 1 is neither prime nor composite kind of thing. So we'll consider it to be non-prime, right? So we'll have one condition that if number is less than or equal to 1, we'll return false. Okay?
Yes,
If number is 0 or 1, we'll return false, that it is not prime number. Else, what we'll do? We'll iterate. Suppose the number was 4, right? We will iterate over the last numbers which are like preceding it, so that we can check whether any of the number from 1 to 3 will divide this given number. If it divides, then it is not a prime number, right? Let's expand our number
yes,
line
sir.
more comprehensive. Suppose we have to check the 9 to be whether it is prime or not, right? So
Yes, sir.
we encountered this situation. We see that okay, a number is not less than 1, so we'll just try to go to else block. Once we go to else block, what we'll start iterating from 2 to the 8th element, right? The 8th number, and start dividing the given number, which is 9 in our case, by each of them, and see whether they are divisible. The number given is divisible. If it is divisible, we'll just return what do you say, false, because it is not a prime number.
False.
If it is divisible, then we'll return true, right? So we'll start that for I in range 2, because we have already checked with the number 1. 1 will divide everyone, so it will just give false, right? And we'll now go till the number, excluding the number, I would say, till n minus 1. And if that number is divisible by any of the I, which is this thing, 2 to 8 for the ninth number, then we'll use the modulo operator. It will return the remainder. If it was divisible, the remainder will be 0, right? So if it is 0, then we have to return false. And if we don't encounter such thing and we came out of the loop, that means we have checked for every element. What we'll do? We will return true. That means we iterated over all the elements behind it, and we haven't encountered any of the element which divided our number. So that means our number is a prime number, right?
Indentation is correct. It will be if outside of if loop, no?
Which one? This?
Return true. Yes.
This is outside if and for. We have defined else over here just to make sure that if we have like a number greater than 1, we'll go to else block. If we don't have else, it will still work, but the indentation will be a bit off. So we have to do this thing.
Sir, can we use elif here?
Why we have to use elif? What is the purpose of using elif instead of else?
No, sir. Sometimes we see that in some question we say that we use else.
Elif is used when we had like something like that. Elif, if we want to use elif, right? We that means our first condition failed, but we have another condition to check. That means if elif number is equal to 2, right? 2 is also prime, then return false, right? It will enter this condition only when this condition is true, but else don't have any condition. So that's why we are using else condition over here.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Fine.
cool then.
Sir, can you show complete code? Can I want to take a screenshot.
Yeah, I'll paste the complete code in the chat box, but I'll encourage you guys to complete the code by yourself in the compiler. that will enhance the
Yes, sir. We will repeat it again after the class.
so this passes all the test cases. That means our code was right. Now
So can you please show
modifying.
the code, entire code once?
Yeah, what then? Uh, what do you
Yes.
guys want? Okay, cool. I'll just continue with this code now. So we encountered someone saying that why don't we use an AND condition over here? We can actually use AND condition. If this code is clear,
Sir,
then
please paste this code.
yeah, I'll paste this code. Oh wait, the prime number is bit. This is the code. Just correct the indentation no after if number. Okay. Okay, so let's try to modify this code a bit. Now we are using two if over here, right? But it can be done in a single if just by using AND condition. If we just remove this from here and do this thing, this will be same thing, right? What we are doing over here is that we check the index to be prime. If it is prime, we'll check the other condition, and if both the condition are satisfied, then we'll increase the count.
Sir, is true is required here or not?
Yeah, coming to that, even if we remove the true, it will work because what our function returns is true and false. So after returning the function's value, this will be something like if true and true, right? So this will work. This by large will be if true, and it will say, yeah, the condition has matched to true. I'll go to this condition. So this is the thing that we can do. So if I test on this code again,
Sir, here we have defined is prime after the main function. So
yeah, that
like in Python, it's not necessary to define the prototype first.
no, it's not necessary to define a prototype first. It will just go like this. It will say, yeah, there's some function definition over here. I'll just ignore this function body for now. Also, I encounter some other function definition. I'll ignore the body for now. There are some hidden suffix code from you, which has like main function. So it goes to that. And whenever it encounters that body function call, it will go, okay, now I'll check what was the body of that function. So it encounters this body, and here it says, okay, I saw is prime, but I don't know what is prime was. So it will go back to this body and say, yeah, this is the body. I'll now execute according to this. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Hopefully this question is clear. I'll paste this code also in the chat box, but I'll strongly recommend you guys to do the coding part again by yourself in the PPA portal. Anyone having any doubt in this question? Yaman?
Sir, actually, I am not getting the exact answer. I am getting a 5 and 5 or 3 or 3.
Wait, you are not getting exact answer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where you are trying to like, can you share your code once?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else having a doubt in the question? We can just proceed to next question. Meanwhile, I'll solve the Aman's question. Apart from Aman, anyone have any doubt in this question? Yeah, can you zoom in, Aman, bit? Aman, can you like stop sharing for a bit? I'll just explain the PPA2, then we'll come to your question. So that we can wrap the session within time. So I'll share my screen once more. We'll just come back to your query because we need to debug your question. That's all. Your logic seems correct. Okay, let's start with PPA2. Hopefully the screen's visible. It is a
Yes,
bit
sir.
tricky. You need to understand logic by logic and how to step by step proceed with this question. It states that we have to accept two positive integers, a and b, as an argument, and we have to print some pattern, which will be a rectangular pattern that has a lines. For example, if a was 3, that means it should have 3 lines, 1, 2, and 3, right? And the first, which is the first line, and the last line should have B stars. What is B? It's the number of columns kind of thing. So A was rows, B's columns, right? And all other lines should have exactly 2 stars that are aligned with each other towards the end of the rectangle. So this is the figure for 3 cross 4 if the A was 3 and B was 4.
Sir, please check the test cases. The alignment of the middle
Yeah.
rows are different.
So in test cases, the alignment is a bit different. That's why we have defined, given the test cases over here. The private test cases will pass. There's no problem in private test cases. So this bit's a spacing problem. So that's not the case. If the code logic is clear, then you will be able to write the code and pass all the test cases accordingly.
So the each row in between should be aligned on the each sides, right? On the each end. It shouldn't be in
Yeah.
middle.
Wait, I'll share a Google. Wait, just hold on a second. So this board is visible, right? So if we had A given as let's take 5 and B given as 2. In short, we have to make a rectangle. The appearance of our code output should be a rectangle. Now, how do we make it? We kind of leave this space empty. And just populate this space, this space, this space, and this space. The remaining should be empty, right? So when A is 5, that means we have to have like 5 rows in our rectangles. So we have to like define this thing as like this: 2, 3, 4. This is 5, right? And B is 2. Let's take it 3. 2 will be bit cool to look at. So we need to have B as 3. That means there will be 1, 2, and 3. And what we are saying is that leave the middle thing blank. We have to just leave, fill up the boundary as circles like this. So how will we proceed in this question? We'll proceed row by row. We'll check whether if the given row is first row, then we'll populate it using all the O's If it was first row, we'll populate using all the O's. So what will be the number of O's over here? It will be equal to B, right? But for next row, what will be the number of rows? Number of, what do you say?
A minus B, sir.
So B
Not
minus 1.
exactly B minus 2. It will be just
2.
no, it will not be a B minus 1. It will be only 2. Why 2?
Should be 2.
Sir, spaces would
Sir,
be
it's
B minus
mentioned
2.
in the question.
Yeah, spaces will be B minus 2.
Sir, I wanted to clarify that the star here means asterisk, right?
No, the stars over here is just a small O from your keypad.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
O. Okay. So in our even test cases, we have like O's instead of stars. So that's you have to define. Even if we like have this thing as like B as 4 instead of 3. B as 4. Now it will be more of like this thing. Like more of a rectangle now. So the empty spaces is actually B minus 2, but the actual spaces for the no like second to n minus 1 line is 2. For first and second line, it should be B only, but for this should be 2, 2. Sorry for the bad handwriting, guys. Just bear with me. This should be B. This should be the number of zeros. Means how many zeros should be in this column, and spaces should follow a pattern that should be 0. Here it should be B minus 2 spaces in the middle of those O's, right? And here also B minus 2 spaces. Here also B minus 2 spaces. And here it should be 0 spaces, right? So we'll start iterating row by row and check whether it is a first row or last row. If they are not first or last, we'll just have 2 O's toward the end of that thing. So we'll have something like print statement having O's and a bit of string concatenation in between, then again a O. The string concatenation over here will be like spaces, but in the first and last row, it will be like only O's, the number of time the B's appeared. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's code this thing now. I'll code it. We are a bit short on time now. I'll just start coding. So first thing we have to do is we have to accept inputs as A and B. We don't have to define any function over here. We don't have to assume that A and B are given to us by default in the question. We have to take A and B as an input. So what is A? It is a positive integer. So we'll take an integer input rather than a string input. And then
Can you please zoom, sir?
Sure. Sorry for that. I'll zoom. This clear? Right. This much zoom. So we take input 0. Now what we discussed over Jamboard was that we'll go row by row, right? Row by row, we have to iterate. You have to see like we go to first row, then second row, then third row. What is the number of time we have to iterate? It will be given by A, right? A is the number of rows, 5 for our case, but we have to generalize it in a question. So we have to iterate for I in range of A, right? It will go to 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we have to check whether it was the first row or the last row. What will be the check condition for the first row? For I?
0.
If I equal to 0. Why 1?
So 0 or it?
Sir,
Yeah,
0, 0.
0. It will be 0. Python indexing starts from 0. What will I write over here? Or and? I need to check.
Or,
Sir, or.
or.
Yeah, or. What will be the condition after this?
A minus 1.
Why a minus 1?
Because in list, the index number starts from 0 and it
Yeah.
goes till.
A is excluded here. No?
Yeah, a is excluded in the range, same as the list has starts from 0 to a minus 1.
So
Both
that's
are
why
right.
we have to write A minus 1.
Yeah. Then what we have to print?
Sir,
Let me
we
just
have to,
come back to the Jamboard. If
yeah,
it
we have
was
to print O.
the first or last row, we have to print O's, which will be equal to the number of times the columns are given. That
So
means
for I in range of B.
for I in range of B, we won't be using nested loop over here. Let me just clarify that. Yeah, can any one of you volunteer and share what we'll be doing over here? Not all of you. Just raise your hand. We are at
Sir,
this
what
row.
did you say?
We are at this row. We need to print the pattern. We need to generalize it.
We
What
have
will
to
we do?
concatenate
Yeah, the string.
O's.
Okay, Ravindra Kumar, what will be right over here? I'll just share the coding screen. Help me code along.
Print B times O.
Why print B times O?
Because it was mentioned on the question itself. The first and ending line should be is equal to B, number times of O.
Yeah, that's actually fine. Let's come to this logic. What it will do? So what? Okay, now you can mute yourself. B times O will do, right? Pardon me for my bad writing. Just so what B times O is? So we have earlier studied about like multiplication is just repeated additions, right? So what it will do? It will just do this thing plus dot plus O. This will be B times, right? Right? This is same as this thing. These both things are same. And what it will be do? We will be just adding these things will be like a string concatenation. So towards the end, we will be left with O to this thing. This will be like B times. That's what our code demands. So this is this B times O. What does this thing mean? And if it is not a first or end line, we have to have O in the beginning and in the end, not in between. So how will we write this thing?
Sir, we
Again, I
will.
need a volunteer.
Uh, Sir,
Yeah, man.
I have written the code. Sir, we have to first print O, then spaces, number of times is equal to B minus 2.
Okay, let's make it more of.
Print O plus B minus 2.
So we'll just
Starts
say
with
line for now. It will be O, which will be the first character.
Yes, sir.
We just added the line this O. Now we have to add the empty spaces. How many empty spaces we had to add? It will be B minus 2 empty spaces.
B minus 2.
Yes, sir.
So it will be like, again, we'll be using the same logic, but for empty spaces, right?
Yes, sir.
After adding empty spaces,
We
we
need
have
to
to
add.
add again O. We'll again add O and then print this line. We test on this code. All our test cases passed. Though this doesn't seem like our test case, this is problem with HTML rendering. Just ignore this. It's same as printing this thing. Okay. So if we
Sir,
submit this code, yeah.
isn't it required to define function over here?
No, it's not mentioned to define any function over here. We had to directly code into our environment. Over here, there's nothing as like we have to define a function because there was no function call actually. Though we can define a function, just some extra thing. We don't need to define a function. If you have asked the function thing, then I'll explain that. We could have defined this in a function and called this function again after line number 10. But here we are not required to define any function. We are free to just use procedural programming. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Sir, can you show the code?
Sure. This code visible?
Sir,
Yeah.
I'm having doubt in I equal to a minus 1. I mean, please clarify me.
Okay, sure. I'll clarify this thing. So if we go like this, right? So this was our example. In our normal logic, normal mathematical logic, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our counting starts from 5. Oh, sorry, 1. But in Python, it's a bit
Start
tedious,
from
or I
0.
would say it starts from 0.
Yeah.
So when we use for loop over here, we start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 0 and 4 is our first and last. 4th is our last, right? What is 4? 4 is 5 minus 1, right? Which is a minus 1. That means our last row is a minus 1.
Okay, sir.
Kind of reverse engineering we are trying to do. It's a minus 1. If we wanted to do it from our mathematical senses that we generally do, we could have done this thing.
Yes.
Right? Now it is normal mathematics thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Got it,
Yeah.
sir.
Good. Ravindra Kumar, do you have any doubt? Hello. Yeah, Ravindra, you have any doubt? You have raised your hand.
Sir, Ravindra raised hand because once you tell
Okay, volunteer.
to solve with the volunteer. That's why he raised his hand.
Cool, cool. Yeah,
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, I have a doubt.
We'll go in an order. If you can raise your hand, then we'll. Okay. Yeah, Vivekanand, you have raised your hand. First, you
Hello,
can-
sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I have a doubt that, sir, I can understand the code and I can write the code, but I failed in previous OPP. Can I clear the OPP too? Why do?
Yeah, you can surely clear the OPP2. We'll just handle the operational or general queries toward the last. If you have any doubt related to question, we'll be happy to solve it for now. Yeah, Shubham, you have a doubt related to question, this code?
Yes, sir. In the line statement, we have always it is necessary that we always have to make the spaces b minus 2, or it will increase according to the situations we will be given.
Yeah,
In the
it will be.
columns.
Yeah, that's why we have used b minus 2, no? So what we
If
studied
I
over
take
here.
column 6, if I take 6,
Can you please show
and
the code once?
Yeah, I'll just show the code once. I'll just explain the spaces thing. That means we have generalized b minus 2 for our this code. What will be the spaces? It will be two spaces, right,
Yes, sir.
in between these things. If b was also 5, right, then there was also one more space added over here, right? So it's being generalized as b minus 2. The number of spaces as 5 minus 2 as 3. Earlier it was 4, so 4 minus 2 as 2. So we have generalized it by saying b minus 2. We haven't hard coded anything.
Okay. Got
Okay, I'll show the code now. Yeah, everyone clear with this question?
Sir, please
Suggestion.
send me in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm again sending the code into the chat box, but I'll strongly recommend you guys code it yourself without seeing the code.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah, Prakash.
sir, I equal to 1 means first row, what it denotes?
Yeah, we have just changed the thing. It is the first row. This is the second row, right? The range function will go from 0 to 1 to up to a, right?
Okay.
So not from 0, it should go from 1 to a, right? So 1 is the first row and a is the last row. If we were doing it the normal Python way, like using the Python indexing, then it would be look like this thing, because now the Python thing goes from 0 to a minus 1.
Yeah.
Right, so a is 0 is first row and a minus 1 is now the last row.
Okay. Sir, the sixth line, what it denotes, B star means at that time it will have that zero.
Is b star a, b star o means that we are multiplying o b times, but we can't multiply string, right? What does it mean? A into a squared we can say in normal mathematic form, but in math computer language we don't have any a squared or something, right? So what is multiplication? Multiplication is actually repeated addition. If we write 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 b times, it's same as b into sorry, it's not 0, o plus o plus o plus b times o,
Yeah.
and
B times O.
adding this thing will be concatenate, right? This
Oh,
will be
yes.
string will be concatenated. So in the end we will be having a row containing b0 o's, right? B stars, I would say, for more clarifications.
Okay.
Okay.
That is the empty spaces, sir. How it is doing that empty space? Yeah.
So empty spaces are being like we have to
Second
like.
row is second row empty, third row empty is there, no?
So how many rows should sorry, columns should be empty? It should be b minus 2, right? Because first and last is always filled with o.
Oh, okay.
First,
Super.
okay.
Okay. Two remaining two columns all are empty.
Yeah, the two we add in the first and last. The remaining in the between are empty spaces, right? So we just do b minus 2 by minus 2. First comes from here and second from here. We had to remove two columns and then have that many empty spaces in between them.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, line we denote line here only the else after the else statement only we are denoting line. But how it is taking that B star, print B star O? Is it line?
Where?
We represent line after the eighth line only we are representing.
We could
What
have
about?
done this thing only like this. We just, that was just six for sake of
Oh,
clarification.
no need to. Okay.
Yeah, no need to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next question now. Okay, so this is a question which is not as tricky that the problem statements make it. So in this we are given a 2D space, right? And we want to like work with on the 2D space. The range of that 2D space is from 0 to 5. right? So we'll come to this point after reading this question. So we are given that in that 2D space, any function, the temperature is represented by some function which is defined as f of x comma y, where x is x coordinate, the horizontal, and y is the vertical coordinate. Okay. For points such as 1 comma 1, we have to use f of 1 comma 1 as 30 plus 1 squared plus 1 squared minus 3 into 1 minus 4 into 1. We'll get some temperature value. So this is how we get a temperature value at a given coordinate. So if we come over here, so suppose this was our plane given like this. So our range starts from 0, goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I guess, yeah, 5 till 5. Also here we have x also goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. We are given a function in which will give the temperature value at 1 comma 1 coordinate or 1 comma 2, as in when we pass x and y. Okay,
Sir, upper limit of x is not defined.
No, both the limits are defined. So x and y both have limit defined as 5, which is inclusive. So you need to pay attention to this thing, that 5 is inclusive. So if we use range of 5, then 5 will be excluded. So we have to use range of 6. Okay.
Y is less than equal to 5 and x is greater than equal to 0, right?
So this
Is it
equation, how
like
do we read this thing? So this is nothing, just both x and y are between 0 to 5. It should not be like x is only greater than 0, y is only the less than 5. This should be regarded as in two equation combined in one equation. That means if we ignore this y for now, it should be x is greater than equal to 0 and less than equal to 5. And while reading for y, we'll ignore x. We'll say that y is greater than equal to 0, less than equal to 5. So both the
so we
limits
have
for
to
x and y are provided.
read it in a combined way. Okay.
Yeah, written in a combined way.
Okay.
Both
Thanks.
have the same limits, 0 to 5. Both side ends inclusive. And for that coordinate, we are given a temperature function. Now we are given a microorganism which lives on that surface. So microorganism lives in that 2D plane, and it occupies only those points on the plate where both the coordinates are integer. That means, suppose this point was 0.5, 0.5. Okay. And this point also was 0.5. So the bacteria won't be present over here. It will be only present at points such as 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. Let me just
So if it has to have magnitude 5, then that means the first element has to be 5, because not doing all of this gives magnitude.
0, 2 up to 0,
So based on that only,
5,
we got this.
right?
So have whatever we get as the
1,
direction
2,
okay. And so to get
right?
the
This thing goes till 5, 1.
So second will start from 1, 0, no?
This one, this will be 2, 1, 1.
Second line.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for that.
1,
It will be
0.
1, yeah. Thank you for
1,
that. Get out. Like this thing, it will go till 5, 5. Right? These are the only coordinates at which the bacteria can live. It can't be on 0.5, 0.5, 0.6, 6, something like that. Only both the x and y should be integer. Okay. Now we are given that it will move to the regions of low temperature which are less than or equal to certain threshold. If no such reason is found, it cannot survive, and the terms high and low are relative and should be compared with the threshold. So this is so over here, suppose this thing was 100 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, this thing was 50 degree Fahrenheit, and this somewhere over here 4,5 was 60 Fahrenheit, and here it was 10 Fahrenheit. And we are given the threshold of the bacteria to be 40 Fahrenheit, right? So it can survive only on those coordinates where the temperature is given less than threshold temperature. If the threshold temperature was, I suppose 30 degree Fahrenheit, right? It can only survive where the temperature is less than 30 and the coordinates are integers. So we need to code accordingly. We need to check the temperature as well as the coordinates. If there is no such livable temperature, that means all the temperatures of this coordinates is greater than threshold temperature, then we'll say that he can't survive. So is the
For,
question clear?
for survival, temperature should be less than threshold.
Yeah, for survival
and
threshold.
and
So
coordinates will be like this that you have written.
yeah, it will be like this. So what will we do? We'll go coordinate by coordinate, right? We'll go coordinate by coordinate, and whenever we'll encounter such coordinates whose temperature was less than threshold, we'll break and say that he can leave. This statement makes any sense?
Sir, what is threshold temperature here? Is it defined?
Yeah, the threshold temperature T is given in the function. So if we go over there,
So
we
this
have to
is
write
the
a function named survival that will accept a value T. What is T? T is the given threshold. So if we try to code over here, T, that the given threshold is given to us beforehand. So now what we have to do? We have to go over all the coordinates, and if we found the temperature of that coordinate less than threshold, we'll break from the loop. We say that we don't need to visit other steps and we'll print true. Okay.
At any coordinates, how to calculate temperature?
Yeah, for that we are given this function over here, mathematical function, that for given coordinate x comma y, we have to calculate the temperature using this equation.
Okay. Question is clear, sir.
Okay. Let's start with the coding part. So what will be the range of x?
Sir, where is the exactly it is not given the temperature, sir. The surviving temperature exactly it is not given.
It's
Low
there.
temperature. Yeah.
So t is given as a variable argument, which is being defined by us for different test cases. So if it was 30, he
Okay.
can give
30. By test cases we are predicting that.
yeah. So what will be the range of x?
So
0,
0
6.
0 to 6. 0 to 5. 5 is increasing, right?
So
So
please zoom.
we'll do 0 to
Sir,
6.
please zoom it.
5.
Zoom.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So we have to go from 0 to 5, right? So we'll define range from 0 to 6 because Python will go from in the range n to 0 to n minus 1, right? So it will go 0 to n minus 1. And what is y range? It is same as x range, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now we'll be using iterated loops. Now this was just for clarification. We will be using these things as that for x in range from 0 to 6 and for y in range 0 to 6. What we are trying to do is that we start iterating from x. We say we x, we come to this thing. Then for that particular x will start iterating for y. So we'll first iterate over this row, try to find a temperature. If found, we'll return that. If not, we'll move to next row. Next row. This is how we'll proceed in this question. So for y in the range, the given range, how will we calculate the function, temperature function? So temperature function, I just need to just copy this and paste it. Meanwhile,
So, and like from this particular problem, what we have here, the parametric.
okay, this is our
Like in terms of
temperature function. Okay.
like these functions of x, y, and z, and the parameter is the parametric function. Okay. And
So a temperature at given coordinate
so
is given by 30 plus x squared plus y squared minus 3 times of x minus 4 times of y. Up to this point, it is clear.
Yes, sir.
So for given
Yes, sir.
coordinate x and y, we find the temperature. Now, if temperature at we found is less than or equal to our threshold, T is a threshold over here, is less than or equal to our threshold, what we'll do, we'll return true. Because we are doing this in a function, whenever it will encounter a return statement, it will stop execution the function and return the given value. We say, yeah, we found this thing. If we don't, we'll continue for the for loop for the all coordinates. And at the end, if we don't found it, we'll come out the loop and we say return equals to false. We test on this code. Let's see. Hopefully everything will work. Not able to run. Why?
What is the norm of time? Yeah. So square root of minus
Sir, remove this comment. Sir, please remove that comment, then run it.
Okay.
This thing?
No, sir. I have x comma y.
This. So in this, write it and write the form. This is one and then two. So that we can like take out each coordinate. Because in parametric equations, we have
Yeah, there were some comment problems. So this thing runs. We'll submit it to check whether all the test cases are being passed.
Okay, so I just in this text I wrote and so let's on. So this is basically the point. So this is the direction in which we want to carry. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So can you just show the code once again?
Sir, could you please text it?
Yeah. Okay, what I'll do is that you need to code this thing in your compiler. I'll give you 5 minutes to be precise. If not, the screen is visible. I'm not pasting this question because it's a easier question and not so lengthy code. I require you guys to type this code on your compilers and tell me when it's done. I'll give you exactly 5 minutes for this question.
Sir, I have coded this on my
Yeah,
computer.
the guys who have coded, that's not a problem. The guys who haven't coded it yet, I'll request you guys to type in the code because the code is pretty small and won't require much time. And anyone having doubt, meanwhile, I can take his doubt on this question.
Sir?
Yeah, Arnav?
Sir, actually, I run my code, but it's not showing the correct output for one of the test cases.
That's the part of debugging and being a present recorded session. We will take the debugging thing towards the end. I guess I have to take one more debugging from the earlier doubt. We'll take the debugging, individual debugging towards the end. If you have any logic problem, then you can ask for now.
So actually, your code and my code are pretty much similar. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, Aryan, I have given you guys 5 minutes to code into a compiler. The screen is visible. You can take help, but I'll strongly recommend to code it like this. And no, might be there's be some bracket error, might be parenthesis or like equal to or less than error. We'll take into this into account towards the end of the session when the recording and all things are done. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then we'll, if the time permits, we'll have like individual debugging thing. Yeah. And once you are guys are done coding in and passing all the test cases, you can just give me a thumbs up or write +1 in the chat. Then I'll be sure that you have written. Shivam, I have just given you some time so that you can code now only. If you get any logical doubt, then I'll be able to clear it on the fly. Surely you can do it after lecture. That's up to you, but I'll recommend you to do it now. Okay, hopefully everyone has coded in the uh, compiler. Let's begin with the next question.
So just a minute.
Yeah, then I will wait. We'll wait till 9:20, then we'll start with the next question. It's 9:18.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Sneha.
Sir, in this question, you have written true after if temperature is less than equal to T.
Yeah.
Then, why you have written false? Like I'm asking about the indentation, like for false and true.
Okay, so here the indentation of true is after that if the temperature is livable, right? That means we have found at least one coordinate on which the bacteria can survive, right?
Okay.
Let's do it like this. Flag equals to false. Okay. That means we don't have any area where the bacteria can survive, right? If we encounter such area, what we'll do, we will make this true, the flag to be true, and because we have found at least one area, we'll break out of this loop, right? We don't need
Okay.
these loops now, right? Now we can do this thing like if flag, that means we have found some area with this livable temperature. We'll do this, return true, else we'll return false.
False.
That thing is just expansion of sorry, the compression of this thing. Instead of doing
Okay.
thing and keeping track, what we do, whenever we encounter such area, we just return true. That means now the function will stop its execution and directly
Okay.
return true. It will start wandering around. Yeah, I found that area. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And if that area is not found, that
If
means we
it
haven't
doesn't.
returned anything. That means we have gone through all the coordinates. Means we have gone through all the for loop, both x and y. We do this thing as return false. That means we haven't encountered any false true. Uh,
So we get
return,
out of the loop
we'll get out of the loop and we'll
and
just
return false.
and return the false.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Hopefully everyone is done with this code and the
Sir, I have
question.
done, but it is, sir, I have done, but it is showing not able to run. Why is
That
it
might be
showing?
some comment error. We'll try to debug it towards the end of the session. If you have any logical doubt, you can ask. Okay, let's proceed with the next question. We'll come back to the debugging part of some of you students towards the end of the session if the time
Sir,
permits.
is it capital T survival temperature, sir?
Yeah, capital T is the survival temperature. That means the threshold that we are.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay, let's go with the next question. This is with mathematical. We have to write a function named standard deviation. I'll just come to what standard deviation is. I guess most of you have studied in stats, but I'll just briefly reiterate how to find it, which will accept a list of real number x as an argument, and it will return the standard deviation of the number present in that list. And this is a standard deviation formula. The main thing that we want to focus over here is that we have to use the list comprehension if possible. No evaluation on this thing, but we'll try to use list comprehension on this. So I'll explain how to approach this problem and what standard deviation is. Okay, my screen, so this is visible. I'll just try to explain this standard deviation. Suppose we were given a list like list as this thing. It contained let's go with some difficult values, I would say 85, 92, 64, 99 and 56. Suppose these were the 5 values present in our list. Let's name that this list as X as defined in our question, right? So suppose this list was given to us. First criteria to find the standard deviation is that we have to find the mean of this list, right? So how will we find the mean, which is mu or x bar? We denoted by x bar. How will we find this? We'll add all these values and divide it by the count. So number of elements over here is 5, right? And sum is, I guess, Let me just quickly calculate the sum. 85 plus 92 plus 64 plus 99 plus 56. It will be 396, right? So sum of these values is 396. Then the mean will be 396 divided by 5. That will be 79.2. Okay. Once we have found the mean, 79.2, we so here in this formula we have found the mean. Now what we have to do is that subtract that mean from every term of that list and square that term, right? Okay, share this tab. So if xi was this thing, I'll note it down in more of a tabular form now. So if xi was 85, 92, 64, 99, and 56, and we have found the mean x bar, which will be 79.2. What we'll do now is that we'll subtract every term with that mean we have found. So 85 minus 79.2 will be 5.8. Then it will be 12.8 minus 15.2, 19.8, and minus 23.2. Once we subtract and find this thing, we have to square
Test
this.
case very small, sir. Test case we can do very small numbers are the first test case.
Yeah, this I'm just explaining standard deviation and how will we approach. So I'll just make this thing more clear for Python. I guess it will be 33.44 or 163 point. Wait, I'll just zoom in a bit. So we have like 1.84. We'll just square this term, right? Square this term, and after squaring it, we'll just have some values as 0.4, 392.04, 538.24, and now we'll add these squares. Whatever we get, I guess it will be around this thing only. 8. So what will be our standard deviation? It will be this value taken from here. It will be 13.35. 8.8 divided by what our formula says, n minus 1. Sorry, it's till n only, because the Python starts from 0 to n minus 1. That's why our formula is given as n minus 1. So it will be 5 only, and we have to we get the root. So overhauling this process, what we see that for that given list we need to find the sum. From sum we'll find the average. After finding the average, we'll calculate the difference, square them, and add them, and then we'll add it to put it on this formula, and we'll get the answer. The standard deviation calculation is clear to all of you, how we calculate it. Now we'll try to put it into the coding format. Yeah, Ravindra, you have any doubt? Okay, cool. Let's code this thing. So we need to code this into the standard deviation of x formula. We'll first code it using simple list, then I'll like, tell you how to do it in list comprehension thing. So first of all, we'll get n, which is that n minus 1, because Python starts from 0 to 1. That's why we are using n minus 1. But from the general definition, what we'll do, we'll get n as length of that given list, the number of elements present in the list, And how will we find the mean of that x? We'll use a built-in function as sum. If sum is not given in the compiler, we could have used first iterated it and then added it to a given variable, then we'll get a sum. But now we'll be using the Python built-in function as sum. We are given now mean will be the sum divided by the number of elements, which will be n. So now we have gotten the what do you say, mean of that list, right? Am I right?
So it will be number of elements minus 1, right?
Yeah, it should be number of elements by n, but there's bit confusion over n minus 1 over here, and we are not given like whether it's a sample mean or population mean. So we'll just take a population mean over here. So we'll just take n as number of elements as we studied over here. Okay. In this thing, as we studied over here in this thing, it was the number of element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Length of this thing will be like 5 only now if we calculate using that len function. If we use Python's len function over x, it will be 5, which will be put over here, right? And the sum will be put over here. So if we try to code this thing, we'll just use n equal to len of x and mean of x to be sum of the numbers present in the list divided by the length of the list, right?
Sir, please zoom.
Yeah, I'll zoom. Right?
Yes, sir.
The mean thing is clear to all of you?
Sir, can you explain again?
Okay.
Mean simple, sir.
So mean is just like calculating
Sir,
the sum of
sir,
the list.
only the code.
Okay, only the code.
Yes, sir.
So what we are doing over here, we have not done anything. This is the suffix code. We started with this thing. We have to first calculate the number of elements present in that list, right? What we'll do, we'll use len of x, right? And sum of elements in list will be given by a built-in function in Python, which is sum as x. So the mean will be sum of elements divided by n.
Yes, sir.
Right? So now we have now we got the mean. Now we need to have the what do you say, the subtraction and then the square thing, right? We need to have this thing now. First we need to subtract it and then have like square. So we'll initialize a new list, namely L, and we'll start iterating over the old list, and for each element in that list I'll subtract the mean and square that and append that to our given list. That means for I in list.
Your screen is freezed. Sir, your screen is freezed, not showing code.
Okay, sorry for that. For element in L, I defined an element, the list as empty list. Now I'll go to that our old list as X. I have mean now. What I'll start doing, that the subtraction thing will be nothing, just element minus mean, right? It will be this thing xi minus x bar, right?
Yes, sir.
Also, I'll square this thing and add this to our list. Over here, we have like our empty list. I'll square this subtraction element and make another list, which will look like this thing, our subtraction square over here. we'll add this thing to our list. So how we'll add it? We'll do L dot append. We'll just do after square, right? After square element, right? It will be square. I'll append this element to our given list, and I'll come out of this for loop now, right? After coming out of for loop, now I need to add all that squared thing. Now I'll use the sum function again, right? So sum squared difference will be looking like sum of this L which we have stored, and the standard deviation will be now sum squared difference divided by, because the formula now here gives out to be n minus 1, that's why we are doing n minus 1 for now. In the mean it was not given, so that's why we did n. So if we do this thing, it should give us our required result, hopefully.
We should return the result.
Yeah, we should return that result. So,
We
sorry.
have not returned.
Okay. This coding is clear. It's like statistics being coded into Python. Is this logic clear? Then we'll proceed to list comprehension. How could we have done using list comprehension?
So can you scroll down?
Yeah.
So what is written down in the last line?
Here?
27, 27, 28, 20, 30.
This is just a suffix code. You don't need to worry about this. This is to run the R function only. You just need to do this. So if you need to explain, it's just like we are inputting some variables and storing them into a list, and then we are calling this function back and then printing the result. That's the thing that are written in this line. These are these line can't be edited. These are just suffix code. You just need to complete the function thing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now I'll just do this thing in list comprehension. So
Sir,
instead of writing,
sir,
yeah,
can we use instead of that standard deviation? Can we use sigma there in the 23rd line
in 23rd line here?
instead of standard deviation sigma? Just notation only. No?
You can, but that will cause in some errors UTF-8 and UTF-9. So try sticking to.
Sir, can you do now?
Huh?
Can I try? Can we try that now? Can you try that?
Can you paste the sigma notation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of standard deviation, can you paste sigma? Can you write sigma there?
Can you paste that into the chat once? I will just try to.
Same your code only, sir. Just
Yeah,
notation
that was standard deviation symbol I need. I don't have
Need.
this. Wait, I found it over the web. This is what you want, right?
Yeah, no, not that sigma. SIGME.
SIGMA.
Yeah.
That can be used if then you return sigma.
Test it now.
Yeah, it will work.
Okay.
It's just naming the variable, right? You can
Yeah,
name
yeah.
it anything from elephant to ant, anything.
Okay. Thanks.
Now I'll try doing this thing in a list comprehension way. So how will list comprehension work? It will be just like this thing. The only difference here will be like we don't have like so much of line. That's the straightforward difference. So we'll do this thing as x minus mean squared for x in x. This is a list comprehension form. If you don't understand this you can totally skip it. But if you understand this, then it's well and good. If I test run it again, you'll find that test case is being passed. So these heavy coding 3 lines we have just defined into a 1 line using list comprehension. Hopefully this code is clear. You can safely ignore this for now, but I'll recommend you to go list comprehension once the OPP is done, because it's a cool way to write code. Yeah, Haya.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed it, but why did you put 0.5 in line 24?
Okay, this is nothing, just doing it like this. 1 divided by 2. When we do this 1 by 2, it's root, right? In standard deviation formula, we have root.
Okay.
So this root is being denoted by half, which is 0.5.
Okay.
Okay. This is clear to all of you guys?
The next part is p times root 3, 1 by 3.
Anyone have any doubt? Yeah, Zainab?
Can you please repeat it again? I'm sorry I joined late.
No worries, we'll repeat it.
What is there?
No, I cannot do this thing. We'll just use it. Okay. So suppose this was the list given. These were like commas in between. The list was like this. How do we find the standard deviation? We first calculate the mean by calculating the sum of that element divided by number of element. After calculating the mean, we subtract it from every element xi. After getting this thing, we square them and add them. After adding them, we divide it back by root 5, the number of the elements, and root it. This is the normal standard deviation that you might have learned during your statistics course. Now we just
Yes.
need to put this thing into our code. So how will we find the mean? We'll do length of x to find the number of elements, and sum of elements we'll find using a built-in function, namely sum in the Python. And we have sum of mean to be like sum of elements divided by n, which will give us the mean. Now we let's just comment this thing and comment this thing. Just ignore this comment. This is just a list comprehension way, just a cool way to write code. Nothing to worry about this thing. Kind of saving some space on memory by doing list comprehension, but we can totally do it using a complete expanded for loop. Now we initiate a new list L, and for every element in the older list, we'll start subtracting that each element by the mean we have found out by using this thing, and we square that and append to this list. That means now we have gotten this part of our table, right? We have subtracted it, then squared it to get this part of the table in a form of a list. After getting this thing in a new list, we'll again do sum divided by n minus 1 as given in the formula for the question, and do the whole root and then return it as a standard deviation. So that's all we have done. We have just coded the numerical problem of finding a standard deviation into a programming problem using a computer. That's the only thing we have done with this PPA.
Okay.
Is this clear?
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Yes, it's clear.
So we'll proceed towards last PPA. This one is a bit tricky. So we are given that word is a string that contains one or more parentheses. So if we go over here in our test cases, we are given with a string which have roughly all parentheses, no single characters or thing. which are of the parentheses are of following type. These are curly braces, the square braces, the round braces, right? The string is said to be balanced if all the following conditions are satisfied. What are the conditions? The conditions are that the number of opening parentheses of a given type. For example, if we had round brackets being opened, so there should be equal round brackets being closed of the same type. Also, an opening parenthesis cannot be immediately followed by a closing parenthesis of different type. I'll just explain this condition on the whiteboard. And every opening parenthesis should be eventually closed by the closing parenthesis of the same type. And we have to write a function to check all these conditions are fulfilled. If all these three conditions are fulfilled, then we'll return true, else we'll return false. Okay. So I'll explain it on a whiteboard a bit. Okay. So suppose what was our first condition? That means if we are opening this thing, suppose there were 3 round brackets, there should be corresponding 3 closing brackets, then only the word is balanced. Or another example we take, if we had something like this, then a square bracket is open, a round bracket open. So there should be one closing bracket and one closing square bracket, then only it's said to be one balanced. The other thing is, we have, suppose this thing, the curly brackets, then a square bracket. Now we can't close this curly bracket until and unless the square bracket is closed. If this is not there and we do this thing outside, then the string is not balanced. This is not balanced. So as to be balanced, what we have to do, we have to first close the the latest bracket, then the following bracket like this. Okay, this is the balanced. And every opening bracket should have corresponding closing bracket. So this thing has the corresponding closing bracket as this thing, and this thing has corresponding closing bracket as this thing. So this is what our question demands us to do. Now, how will we do this, right? So let's take an example from the test case itself, and first explain it on the whiteboard. Then which example should I take first?
Yeah. So the maps section channel is you can search anyone.
Okay, I'll take the very first example so that it's not confusing. So this is our very first test case, and it is a balanced test case, as you can see from the brackets, that curly brackets are matched and closed. Then the square bracket is opened and closed accordingly, so they are in matching sequence. So that's how we'll do this. So what will be the corresponding logic behind doing this thing, right? So we can't just compare the index or something like that. Will you be using okay, let me just introduce to you like stack data structure. So this is just like an overview, not in detail, how a stack will look like. So you have the stack is like, if I have like what do you say, 2 books A and B, and this was stack. If I put A book as first and then B book, then to access A, I must first remove B. That means I need to take out B, then only I can access A. So this is the normal structure of a stack data stack. This is, that is, last in, first out. LIF we speak. You will be studying it more in PDSA, but we have to employ that structure over here. So how will we do this thing? We'll use the stack data structure as I told you. So I'll start iterating over this string of the given thing. I'll then put this thing into the stack. Then I'll go to this thing. Again, I'll check, yeah, it is an opening bracket. I'll put into the stack. Then I again go to this thing. Then I'll put it into the stack, right? Then after we have we encounter the closing bracket, right? If we have closing bracket over here, we'll say that now it is a closing bracket. And now I'll start removing these brackets from the stack. If I remove curly bracket and our closing bracket was also curly bracket, we will say, okay, successfully removed. Then this thing is removed. Then we'll go from this thing, the square bracket, say that, yeah, this is also closing bracket. So I'll start removing from the stack. If the match is there, we'll say, yeah, the successful removal is done, else no. So what you can see that the opening brackets makes an addition to a stack and the closing brackets leads to deletion from the stack. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so explaining it like to all once more, I guess it's clear, but I'll just do more of comprehensive example. So imagine you have like a stack of plates, notebooks. So you have to place them on a table, right? So in our case, the plate represents like the opening parenthesis, curly, square, and this thing. So first rule is again that the number of openings should be equal to number of closing. There should be no mix and match. That means you can't put a plate of one type directly above the plate of another type. And now we'll be using the stack data structure as last in first out, right? So whenever you see a bracket, you put into the stack. Whenever you see a closing parenthesis, it's like taking the plate out of that stack. And if the end our stack is empty, that means all the plates were matched and removed, then the string is balanced, else our string is not balanced. Okay, let's code this thing. Coding will be a bit challenging. Let's start coding.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I don't understand this.
Okay, I knew because this is a bit tricky concept. I'll just explain it. No worries. I'll explain it again.
Sir, I only understand that if we are removing one element, then there must be a one exact match inside the stack.
Yeah, let me just explain it once again. So what we so that there's a stack. If A was there in the stack and B was there in the stack, we could only access A by removing B, right? So what we have to do, we have two types of brackets, but one is opening bracket and another is closing bracket. And then we have separations of curly, square, and round bracket, right? What we do is that once we have this big stack, let's make it a bit small. Suppose I encountered first this square round bracket, right? I'll say that this is a new bracket. This is an opening bracket. I'll put it into a stack. Then I go to next character. I say again, yeah, this is also an opening bracket. I put into the stack. Now I'll say, okay, now again, this is an opening bracket. I'll again put into the stack, right? After I have done till this part, now I encounter the closing bracket. I say, now this is a closing bracket. I should start removing elements from our stack. So now this character is there. I'll remove this thing and say, yeah, this is the match. That means this was the closing bracket corresponding to our opening bracket, that means I can successfully remove it. Once it is removed, that means now we are left with these two only, right? Now I go to this closing square bracket. That means now I'll say, okay, now I again encounter a closing square bracket. I'll remove it from the stack. I remove this thing and say, yeah, this is the corresponding opening bracket, square square match. That means I can successfully delete this thing and say, okay, this thing also deleted, right?
Yes,
Now
sir.
I encounter last bracket, it is round. It means I can also remove this thing. Now considering another example, in this thing is balanced, right? This thing is balanced. What if our string was not balanced, right? So let's take an example where our string was this thing. Let me just give a bit space so that it's easier to comprehend. Okay, this is the string given to us. Now how will we proceed? I'll say, okay, this thing is an opening bracket, so I'll put it into a stack, right? Then again I'll go, yeah, this one is also opening bracket, a ground opening bracket. I'll put into a stack. But as when I encountered this bracket, I say, okay, now this is closing bracket. So I need to take one bracket out of stack. That means I'll take this bracket out of my stack, which will be closing bracket, and try to match this with closing this bracket, right? As these are not similar, I'll say, okay, this thing is not balanced. I'll return false. We don't even need to check whether the stack was empty and thing. We'll just say, okay, then this is our unbalanced string, so we just return false. Let's try to code. Maybe then it will be more of clear picture to you guys. So word is given to us. So we initialize a stack. A stack will initialize as a simple list. Okay. So as to add item to stack, we'll use dot append method of list, right?
Yes, sir.
And to, what do you say, remove the element, I'll use dot pop method. Okay. So this is our stack. And now what are our opening parentheses? Opening parenthesis. Pardon for any spelling mistake. This will be like, these three are our opening brackets, right? Hello. And
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And what will be our closing brackets? Will be just this thing, and this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is our opening and closing brackets. Let's map the closing and opening thing also. We'll define a dictionary. We'll map parentheses. That means we'll have a dictionary. Over here, we are given that if the closing bracket is this, its corresponding opening bracket should be this. And if our closing bracket is this, our opening should be this. And if it was square, bracket, then our opening bracket should be like this. This is parenthesis mapping, right?
Yes, sir.
Now I'll start iterating over this thing. That for I, let's be more clear. For char, the character in our given word, if that character is in our opening parenthesis, what will we do? Hello. Now what will
Yes.
we do to the stack? If we encounter an opening parenthesis, what we were
We
doing?
can append.
We
We
will
can
append it.
append it.
We'll append that character to our stack, right? Elif character in closing parenthesis. Right, this. We'll do that if stack is empty, that means not stack. If a list is empty and we use if stack or list, then it should return true, right? Then only we'll go to the map if condition. If I write this thing, that means if the stack is, what do you say, empty, that means there was no element in the stack, then it should be returning false. The false negative will be true. That means if stack is empty, let me, then we'll return false. That means we don't have any corresponding match of opening bracket, right? Else we'll go that last opening is stack dot pop. We get the opening bracket from the stack that we have earlier defined, right? Now we say that if uh, the given char, like this thing, that means for that given closing bracket is not, the brackets are not same. That means the curly bracket is being matched to what do you say, round bracket. That means again it's an unbalanced string. That means it will be last opening, right? Last opening will be this thing, will return false. And if everything is considered and we don't have thing, that means we have an invalid character. That means neither it was in opening parenthesis, neither it was in closing parenthesis, then it is an invalid character. We'll just return false. And if the stack is empty, we'll return not stack. Let's see if this code work. Whole test case is fast. Is this code a bit clear?
Sir, can you explain from line number 19?
So what will if not stack do? Let me just use if not stack. I'll say length of stack. If not stack is like if we just hold on a second. Let me just try to simplify it for you guys.
If length of stack is equal to 0,
Yeah.
is it that way?
Yeah, it's that way only. Let me just trying to say, yeah. That means if the stack was empty, we were iterating and we encountered that we have an closing bracket. That means our character was closing parenthesis, and our stack is empty. That means there's no open bracket. That means we have an extra closing bracket. That means our string is not balanced.
Yes.
Right? Then we'll return false.
Yes.
If this was not the condition, that means our stack contains some of the opening brackets. We'll pop that bracket, we'll take out that bracket, the topmost, and try to compare it with that our string mapping. Say that if the bracket that we just took out from the stack was curly bracket, right? So our character, the closing bracket should match with the opening bracket. That means both should be curly or both should be square, both should be round. If not, we have to return false. This is clear?
Can you please explain line number 21?
Okay. So suppose our stack before this thing look like this thing. Our stack was like it contained. Let me just make some spaces. Okay, so our stack looked like something like this, right? It contained all the opening brackets, and the character for now from this thing, the character is that we are trying to compare is square brackets. Sorry, ending brackets, because it is in closing parentheses. Okay. So we say that if the stack was empty, that means there was nothing in the stack. That means we are left with this closing bracket, but no opening bracket. That means the string is unbalanced. Then we'll return false. If that's not the case, what we do, we get this last character, this last opening thing stored in this. Okay. We pop that, we get that last thing.
Okay.
Okay. Once we get that last thing, we try to compare this thing to this dictionary. That means the map char. So char was this thing, na? So corresponding to this character, what should be the opening? This should be this thing. If that's not the case,
Yes.
then we'll return false. If instead of square we got curly over here, that means this would look something like this. It was this thing is not equal to this, right?
Yes.
So we'll return false.
Yeah.
And towards the end, if we found something like we like satisfied all the condition, we'll return the, what do you say, len of stack equal to 0. That means we have put all the what do you say, opening, then one by one took out all the opening and matched them with the closing brackets, and at the last when we iterate over this thing, we are left with an empty stack. That means we have put all those things, took them all back out. It means we have matched it. That means our stack is now balanced, or our string is now balanced.
Sir, is it from week 11?
It's not week 11 or 12. It's journal coding problem. It's from
Sir, is
dictionary.
that, sir, I hear first time stack.
It's just a stack your data structure that you will be studying more in detail. Just for now, you have to know that in the stack, what we do, we first put in this thing, A or B. So we have to aware of like last in first out. So you have like A and B over here. So as to like, if we can put it down in like any order, like C, D, E. It's like pile of plates or pile of books, you would say. You can access a plate by taking the topmost plate. You can't go and skim through the plates and take the plate out from the middle of the stack, right? You always take the plate from the topmost section of the stack. This is what the general idea it is. Is this clear, or I should explain it once more?
So once more explain.
Okay.
Coding part.
Coding part. The logic is clear?
Yes, sir. Logic is
Yes, sir.
clear.
Okay. Let me just drink a bit of water. I'll explain. Okay.
Sir, each and every step you should you should explain.
Yeah, sure. I'll explain each and every step. My screen's visible for the coding thing.
Yes.
I'll remove this thing and try to code along. Just hold on a second. So I have removed all this thing. Let's start. So first of all, we'll initialize an empty stack, right? Empty stack. That means we initialize an empty stack, which will be just a list for now, right? An empty list. Now we'll define what are the opening parentheses and what are the closing parentheses. The opening parentheses are nothing. It will be this is an opening parenthesis, this is an opening parenthesis, and this is an opening parenthesis, right?
Yes.
Now closing parenthesis. As this thing, and this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Now suppose the word that was given was this thing. This thing. Okay, this is the word given. Just ignore the spaces for now. I'm just added spaces for like sake of clarity. So just add it over here also. Okay. So now I have this thing. So I'll start iterating over this thing, this string. This is a string, right? I'll encounter this. I'll put it into our stack, right? So how will I code this thing? I'll start with a for loop. At for, also I'll create a mapping parenthesis so that it's clear. This is a dictionary. This is a dictionary. What it takes as key value pair. Key is the closing parenthesis, and its values is corresponding opening parenthesis, right? It will be easier for us to compare this thing now, right? Okay.
Sir, it means 13th line means what, sir? For that open, that close parenthesis, this plus next to next, it must be mapped to that one, sir.
Yeah. So it is a dictionary. So whenever I pass this key as an input to the dictionary, what it should return? It should return this thing. opening
Okay.
parenthesis. What is its corresponding parenthesis? That means our round bracket has an opening parenthesis as round bracket, right? A curly
Okay.
bracket should have a closing bracket should have a corresponding opening curly bracket only.
Can we change that, sir? That for first one closed and then open.
Yeah, that order won't matter, no?
Okay, order not okay.
This thing we can do. Dictionary that is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now I start iterating over this string as 4 character in word. I encounter this character. This character is present in this set of string. That means it is an opening parenthesis.
Yes, sir.
What will I do? I'll also initialize a stack over here. Okay, this is my stack, not defined by like, not looking like a diction list, just to make you guys clear. Okay, for character in word, what will I do? If char in opening parenthesis, what I'll do, will add that to our
Sir,
stack.
I have a problem.
Yeah.
Sir, is the spelling in the parenthesis, if we use SIS in the last three digits, is it different from your spelling
No, it's
parenthesis?
just variable name. You can name it anything from Mars, Jupiter, elephant, and anything.
Okay,
That
sir.
won't cause any error.
I'm using the same code, but I'm using the spelling SIS, but I have got 3 out of 6 private test passed.
We will
So
see
I
that.
just I am asking.
No, the spelling won't make any difference. That's for
Okay.
sure. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now we have encountered it to be like in opening parenthesis. We'll add it to our stack. This was the element we were talking about. We'll add it to our stack by using append function. We'll do stack dot append the character, right? This is our first character. Now I'll go again on the loop. I'm not writing else part for now. Just pay attention to if thing only. Now I again go to this thing. Again, it is an opening parenthesis. I'll append to our character stack. Now again go through the for loop char. I encountered that this is also an opening parenthesis. I'll append it to our stack. Now I'll write the code for the closing parenthesis. Till here I have done, right? These three are done. Now I have like closing thing to be done. If character in closing parenthesis, what we do, we'll check whether our stack was empty or not. Suppose our stack was empty, that if length of stack is 0, that means our stack is like this. That means we don't have any opening bracket, but we have some closing bracket. Is it possible to have a closing bracket without an opening bracket?
No, sir.
No. That means we'll return the false thing. That means we can't have a closing bracket without opening bracket. If the length of stack is not 0, that means we have some opening brackets. Now we need to check whether the opening bracket is right. Is it matching to our closing bracket? So till now we have formulated a stack which looks like this thing. We have added all these three over here. Now it's time to take these things out. We have done these things. Now we have a closing bracket. So we have a curly closing bracket, right? we say, okay, now I have encountered a closing bracket. Now I'll see in my stack whether the topmost element is same as the opening bracket should be. That means it should be a curly bracket, then it is matched. Else I would say, okay, I am closing this bracket before this this has been opened, right? So that's a mismatch. So how will I code this into our code? I am now at this stage. Now I take this from our stack out. How will I take this from our stack? I'll use the pop method of list. What will it return? That means
Last
last
element.
element will be stack dot pop. It will return a curly bracket for now. Now our
Yes.
stack is like this, but our last element is like this. And our care was also, because we are at this position, we are using this thing, right? So now we have to check whether the element that we took out from our stack is same as our character's closing element or opening element. How will we do that? We'll refer to this dictionary now. Suppose our now our not suppose now our care is this thing, right? That means if I pass this to our mapping parenthesis dictionaries, our care, but it should return this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
But if it returns curly bracket and our last element was not curly bracket, that means our string is not balanced. That means this returned is not equal to our last opening. If it was equal, that then it was fine, right? We will continue with the iteration, right? If it was not true, then we'll return false. If it was fine, then we'll just continue, right? We'll
Sir,
not.
sir, from line number 23, everything going out.
Okay, line number 23. If till line
Yes.
number this is clear, right?
Yes,
We
sir, it is
got
clear.
the opening bracket. Okay. So we took this bracket in line number this before 23, and we said this thing is there. And if these things are matched, that means it is a corresponding opening bracket for this closing bracket. We continue. We don't remove or something like that. But if it was not true, that means in stack we took out a close opening bracket as circular bracket and our closing bracket was curly bracket. That means we have a mismatch, right?
Yes, sir.
That means we have a mismatch. That means we can return false. I hope this is clear. After writing continue statement, the not equal to was creating an error.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right? This is return. So this is the code for the closing parenthesis. We'll also match an else code. That means if we encounter some other character A, B, C, D, right? Not a bracket, then we'll say that we have encountered a wrong character in our function, will return false. And if every character is matched and we are left with an empty stack, that means every opening had its corresponding closing bracket, will return true. When will we return true? That means our stack was empty. When it was empty, when our length of okay, I'll also elaborate this thing also. If after executing this for loop, if length of our stack was 0, that means we found every corresponding closing and opening and closing bracket will return true. Even after executing so much of code, we are left with some opening bracket in our stack. That means there's no corresponding closing bracket. That means this string is not balanced. We'll say it is false. Okay.
So can you show full code?
Wait. Last opening not defined. Last opening, last element. Sorry. I'll show the full code. Wait, just let me. This is the full code. Is this visible? Full code.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully it's clear.
Clear, sir.
Sir, can you zoom it?
Yeah, zooming in it.
Plus.
Um,
Sir, that mapping parenthesis, what it tells that number of closing and opening parenthesis.
it's only used in this thing. That if we pass a closing bracket to as a key, it should like tell the code that okay, if closing bracket was passed as a key, it should match with that opening bracket as closing only. No, not anything else.
Okay, matches only. Okay.
Yeah, match only.
But
Then we
in
compare
the
it to the last element with the stack.pop.
I think
so
instead of doing the dict, we can actually use the index of opening and closing parentheses. It should be same.
Yeah, it will be same. Actually, it will be same.
So we may not add new data structure for dict. We can actually compare the index,
Opening parenthesis
the
dot
opening and
index.
this will be same. That
It
will make
can
it
be
easier.
used.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, this bracket of mapping parentheses.
Okay, let me just remove this bracket of parentheses. I'll just do the index thing. Okay. If opening parenthesis dot index is hopefully now it's bit understandable. I guess the dictionary was bit hectic for you guys.
Sir, my question was just only that, sir, it's opening is with a small bracket but not closing.
Wait, what?
So it's opening with a small bracket and curly braces, and it's not closing.
The dictionary. This was a key value function, no?
Okay, sir.
This is a string. You don't have to worry about that. It's not opening, right? This thing you are going to ask.
Okay,
It's
sir.
just the mapping.
Sir, if it's in a string a bracket, then it will
Yeah.
it bracket will be a string. Okay, sir.
It's kind of this. So we match this thing.
Okay, sir, got it.
So for converting this code into a list comprehension, what can we do?
Don't go into list
Like,
comprehension with this code because we are not formulating any list. We are just using stack, and if we do a list
okay,
comprehension, we'll in one go will formulate a stack or list, but in the another go you need to pop it, right? So you have to
okay,
use two list comprehension. I don't want to go into that direction for now because stack is
okay.
comparatively new for you guys. That will more confuse you.
I was just curious that if some code is given, so is there some structure we are sticking to convert it into a list comprehension? That was
List
my question.
comprehension. Uh, Actually, that was mentioned just to try about the list comprehension. The main purpose of list comprehension is to save space. Okay. So even if we
Hmm.
want to use list comprehension over here, we have to divide the code into these parts like list comprehension with a condition. Okay. Then there
Okay,
will be two list comprehensions. The second one will be like too much detailed. That will be equivalent to writing a code in a expanded form. So I'll
okay,
recommend not to go into list comprehension for particularly this question.
okay,
If
sir.
you want to try, I can't stop you. Okay. I want to explaining it over here, else students will get confused.
No, 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 not in this code, maybe in some easier one. Like how to convert a simple code into a list comprehension, some basic structure we are trying to use in converting into list comprehension. Like for a loop, uh, for loop, we are putting it into certain structure into list comprehension. So
Sure.
that
We'll
was.
actually discuss a bit about list data structures on coming Tuesday. Also, if time permits tomorrow, because today we are overshooting the time and
Yes,
being
yes.
the session being recorded, we
Mm,
have to like compile the recording and all that. So we'll probably do it within the time frame. Else we'll do on, I guess Tuesday we'll be solely devoting on the list data structure. So we'll explain it over there.
okay, sir. No problem. Thank you.
Yes. Can we get similar questions in OPP2 exam as well? Not exactly, I would say, but uh, you should be like able to formulate a logic for similar questions. Uh, these things require time, so it won't be given in OPP. Please submit it for confirmation. I guess I submitted it. It was 6 out of 6 test cases passed.
So will you be take more question?
Today we won't be taking more questions because we are already overshooting the time by half an hour. Probably tomorrow we have like other 5 questions scheduled for the week VPA 6 to PPA 10. Then in the upcoming sessions, we'll be discussing more about the list one. Please submit, sir. Okay, I was just addressing. So in the next week, we'll be doing more of data structures related to that list and dictionaries. The Saturday will be an open session, so maybe you can then join on the open session if you have like other queries. But being the structured OPP practice sessions, we have to stick to some given plan. We can only deviate if the time permits. As you can already see, it's 10:34. The session will schedule till 10, so we might not be able to take today more questions.
So can you show PPA one once?
Yeah, sure. I'll show PPA once. If you guys have any like general doubt, you can just raise your hand so that I can go in a queue rather than just random. Uh, Here we have PPA 1.
Yeah, the old iPhone 10.
Can you show the whole code?
Yeah, I'll show you. Show you. So this was a code for this thing. Yeah. Zainab, do you have any doubt?
I wanted to ask, like in OPP1, we had some replit questions scheduled for us for practice. Do we have the same for OPP2?
Wait, what? Yes, the voice was a bit breaking. Can you repeat?
Yeah, during the OPP1, we were given some replit questions.
Replicate
Uh,
questions.
but
Okay.
yeah,
So this time we are not planning for any replicate questions. We are just OPP practice sessions like this only, so that we can at least practice the PPs and GPs with some modifications. We'll keep you updated if we plan to do some replicate questions.
okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So you guys have any other doubt? Regarding that debugging thing that we discussed, maybe you can guys can refer to recording of the session once. If
Sir,
the doubt still persists, we'll surely debug it. Okay.
sir,
Yeah,
can you show PPA tool, sir?
PPA2, I'll show.
Yeah.
Can I leave the meeting?
Yeah, sure. You guys are free to leave the meeting. We are just winding up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, then uh, let's wind up this meeting now. Mm, We'll continue
Thank you, sir.
tomorrow. Okay, then bye. Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Where can I find the recording of this session?
Yeah, it was being live streamed on the YouTube channel of Python.
So,
Here it is. The link is given.
okay, can you share the Jamboard link as well?
Jamboard link.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, then see you guys. Bye.